Sorry, still on. All right, let's see, it is 9:02 a.m. on Tuesday, May 16th. Is that right? Yeah, it is. 2023. I've been traveling on the West Coast, so it's just all the times are blending together at 6 a.m. I'll call to order this meeting of the Maine Gambling Control Board. My name is Steve Silver. I'm the board chair. Before we go any further, I'll explain the circumstances under which we'll do this meeting, set up some ground rules. We are meeting in person with a Zoom option. So physical location of this meeting is 45 Commerce Drive in Augusta. There is a virtual attendance option via Zoom. The board expects that members of the public who attend the board meeting virtually will be able to provide public comment to the same extent as members of the public who attend in person. So if you're participating on Zoom, please mute your devices until it's time to talk. Looks like that's all been done. The Gambling Control Unit, on behalf of the board, has been notices of this meeting on its website with instructions on how members of the public could access the meeting. In addition, the unit, on behalf of the board, sends agendas in advance of the meeting. I saw they were also posted online to everyone who requests them. So it's the board's sincere hope that all interested in the subject matter of today's meeting have received notice of this meeting, how to participate electronically. This time, I'll introduce the other board members. We have a quorum. If you're attending via Zoom, raise your hand when I call you, so it shows on the video. So start to my right, Chief March.
Noel March, Hamden, Maine, present.
Ms. Green.
Good morning, Sarah Green on Zoom, South Portland.
Your video is not coming through, but I can hear you. Oh, there you go.
I'm here.
Mr. Hanslip.
Good morning, Joe Hanslip, Sanford, Maine.
Okay, and is Dr. Brown on or?
No, not yet.
All right, so we've got 4, which is a quorum. I'll also note, obviously Executive Director Milton Champion is here. You'll hear from a number of unit staff today and from the Attorney General's office, Jennifer Wills and Philip Mantis. So first order is approval of the minutes from the March 21st, 2023 meeting. Any comments, issues?
Green, so moved.
All right, I'll second that to approve. Who was not here?
Dr. Brown.
Okay, all right, well, then we can all vote. All right, so we'll take a quick roll call vote. Ms. Green.
Aye.
Chief March.
Aye.
Mr. Hanslip.
Aye.
And I as well. Pass. And now we will turn to operations. Your Supervisor Vicky Gardner.
Good morning. I have operations reports for March and April. So in March of 2023, there were 20 shipments of machines and or associated equipment shipped to or from the licensed facilities. On-site inspectors completed 687 observations, 32 checklists. There are 15 self-exclusions. There are 8 minor violations that will continue to be monitored from the activity log. There were no patrons complaints and 2 formal complaints of potential violations placed on the dashboard. Calls for service from law enforcement agencies for Oxford, Maine. There were 31 from Oxford PD. There were 9 in the parking lot, 4 in the hotel, and 18 on the casino floor. They included disorderly conduct, assault, wanted out, trespass, intoxication, drugs, 911 hangups, arrest on a warrant, search warrants, possible suicidal subject, violation of protection, and motor vehicle crashes. For Bangor, Bangor PD responded to 30 calls for service. 2 were in the parking garage or outside, 3 in the hotel lobby, 25 were on the casino floor. They included drugs, trespass, fraud, pointed out family fights, information, subpoenas, suspicious activity, welfare checks, 911 hangups, and vagrancy. That completed on the month of March. Operations for the month of April of 2023, there were 11 shipments of machines and or associated equipment shipped to or from a licensed facility. On-site inspectors completed 716 observations, 35 checklists. There were 13 self-exclusions. There were 8 minor violations that will continue to be monitored on the activity log. There were no patrons complaints, and there was 1 formal complaint, a potential violation placed on the dashboard. Police calls for service for Oxford, Maine. Oxford PD responded to 18 calls for service, 5 in the parking lot, none reported in the hotel, 13 at the casino, to include threats, pointed out intoxications, 911 hangups, bail violations, and possible suicidal subject. For Hollywood, they responded to call 18 calls for service from Bangor PD, to include 6 parking garage outside hotel lobby, 11 calls for service to include drugs, trespass, fraud, wanted out, welfare check, 911 hangups, and vagrancy. Looks like you have a question, Chief Marsh.
Like, all right. So if I may, here, yes, I do have a question. It sounded like in March at Oxford, there was, did I hear correctly, there was 1 search warrant case?
Yeah,
What's that?
it was a vehicle search outside.
The parking lot?
Yeah, reference some drugs.
It's unusual. Thanks.
Just seemed like an uptick on in casino calls.
A
I feel like
little
we usually
bit.
have more in the parking lot.
Well, sometimes it's hard to distinguish, so those exact numbers
Yeah.
might be, a lot of these intoxications might be drive-offs from the parking lot, but there's no differential when I get the report from the PD.
Any questions from Zoom land? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to a financial report. Auditor Amanda Spencer.
Good morning.
Morning.
Regarding changes in casino tax revenue due to the state of Maine, tax revenue increased by 2.36% for both facilities in March 2023 compared to March 2022. Tax revenue decreased by 6.48% for both facilities in April 2023 compared to April of 2022. Year-to-date, total tax revenue collected through April of 2023 was 3.9% higher than the prior year at this time, and this amount totaled $22,739,705.06. Specifically by casino, during 2023, the Oxford Casino reported total net win from slots of 8.6% for March and 7.69% for April. Total win from table games was 20.25% for March and 29.40% for April. This casino also reported a payback percentage of 91.94% for March and 92.31% for April. Average gross win per slot machine of $267.18 for March and $259.47 for April. During 2023, for Hollywood Casino, the Hollywood Casino reported total net win from slots of 8.66% for March and 8.85% for April. Total win from table games was 13.15% for March and 21.78% for April. This casino also reported a payback percentage of 91.34% for March and 91.15% for April. Average gross win per slot machine of $234.61 for March and $227 for April. In the area of advanced deposit wagering, we observed a decrease of 8.7% for March, 2023 in comparison to March of 2022. This activity decreased by 10% for April 2023 compared to April of 2022. Total year-to-date tax revenue collected by the end of April 2023 from in-state and out-of-state races was $79,658.25, a decrease of 1.9% compared to the same time last year.
Without the report in front of me, forgive me. So you're reporting on 2023. How many months, what period of time are you reporting on? Year to date? And you
Only the
report
ones
here
that said year-to-date, otherwise monthly for the month
monthly.
identified.
Any explanation for the drop in ADW compared to last year?
ADW,
The advanced deposit wage rate, looks like there is.
yeah, a decrease of 1.9%.
Economy slowing down. Yeah, I mean, it looks like the casinos are crushing 2021, but we're starting to see a drop compared to 2022. You know, if there's just the economy, not. Yeah,
Are you just specifically to ADW?
both. I mean, it's economy. Yeah.
In advanced deposit wagering, we're starting to go into the fair season, so we'll see a lot more in-state wagers versus out of state. We did have recently, obviously, the Kentucky Derby, so those particular areas might spike those if in fact Penn has the ability to take wagers on those races. So let's see how that comes out.
Yeah,
We've got the Preakness and the Belmont who left with a triple crown, so that may increase the ADW as well.
yeah, no, just looking at compare to the last 2 years, March was a pretty steep drop off. And I don't know what that maybe. People are going to Massachusetts to bet on sports. I have to get that in on Bill whenever I can. But okay, you know, it looks like we're still an increase in casino tax revenue compared to last year.
Oh,
You said it was 3%.
which casino, both of them or just overall
Total tax rate.
year-to-date? Yeah, it's 3.909% higher than the prior year at this time.
This is Sarah. I just have a comment. So it looks like it is 3.9% higher, but the concern is that this month, April was negative 6.48. So we are seeing a drop and, I think it's something that we really want to be really cognizant of as we're dealing with this economy. If we're going to see a consistent drop, not just in the advanced deposit wagering, but also on the casino floor.
It's true that both facilities from April of this year compared to last year. After total tax.
Yeah,
6.48.
no more checks being mailed, so. You don't have to respond to that, but anything from Oxford or Hollywood that we should be aware of or can do to help increase revenue?
No, I think I would just make a comment to what you just said. It's the comparison period prior year. If you remember that year, we were talking about huge
Those are records,
increases,
yeah.
record years. So I would say it's more of the comparison period than it is a decline. Volumes are still good, but certainly as compared to last year, we're starting to see some softness.
I would agree versus 2019.
I mean, even versus 2021, it's substantially up. It's 2022 was.
It was an anomaly last year.
This year, last year, restrictions were lifting. People wanted to get out of the house and we saw a much earlier tourism season. So I think no question I have is what are the next 3 months are great.
How are the electronic table games doing?
Very well. Still soon. We only have in the entire state. It's our only craps table and it's performing well. Even compared to the live table that we had in 2019.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, moving on to Director Champion, your report.
Okay, I guess first and foremost, I want to introduce our new Deputy Director, Matthew Motti, who will stand for second.
Matthew Motti, Deputy Director, Family Control Board, Sports Wagering, and Fantasy.
How about prior to your new assignment, and congratulations, by the way, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Where'd you come from?
Florida.
Right. Well, don't smile, and that's good enough for me.
Casinos,
Don't move.
Florida.
Good man, well, welcome to Maine.
Okay, let's see, a little bit of a legislative update, LD 504, which is the bill that sets the initial application fee for slot machine distributors. It distributes fewer than 50 machines per facility at $50,000 with an annual fee of $10,000. That bill's in the queue wherever the queue is, wherever that is, what that means. LD 731, this is the ADW bill, has a few last minute amendments, and it's also in the queue somewhere. I can never figure out how that happens when I think I have it down. Legislators do something different, so who knows where these are. LD 1777, which is an iGaming bill, allowing for only the 4 tribes in Maine to have and be regulated by the department or the unit. I will be asking for the regulatory oversight be directed to the Gambling Control Board, who regulates casinos, and not to the unit or the executive director position, as this would be more appropriate, linking both casino and iGaming activities together. And this is the bill that could possibly, more than likely, will be carried over. And then just posted this morning, we have 1944. LD 1944 is a bill requires the state to negotiate with any federally recognized Indian tribe in the state or any combination of federally recognized Indian tribes in the state that wishes to own and operate a casino on tribal land for a license to operate a casino. The state also may negotiate with all the federally recognized Indian tribes in the state for a license to operate a casino on land that is not owned by the tribes in a county other than Penobscot County or Oxford County. This license to operate a casino on land that is not owned by the tribes would be in addition to licenses negotiated to operate casinos on tribal land. Negotiations between the state and a federally recognized tribe, combination tribes, or all of the tribes must include but not be limited to taxes and regulations governing that casino. Again, this is very new this morning. Just came out, so I don't imagine we only have a month left, I think, in this session. So I don't know how much ground this is going to get, but we'll see. I'll keep you up to date as much as possible. Well, actually, our next meeting's in July, so the session should be closed by then. So I'll give you any updates at that time. An update on the legacy letters. They went out to 142 people. As of today, we've received 6 calls asking for the people to be removed from the current lists. They have been directed to the specific casino that they signed on with. 58 came back as undeliverable and 78 have not responded. Human resource update. I just wanted to kind of make a public announcement. Licensee tax returns. I'd like to request and further explain that any applicant that we only accept copies of their actual returns or government letterhead communications in PDF. And we will not accept screenshots, snippets, pictures of documents, et cetera, et cetera. So please do not include them in your applications or as a follow-up document necessary for the application to be deemed complete for initials and renewal applications. And that is my report.
Any questions for Director Champion?
That most recent bill that was submitted is LD 944, is that right?
1944, yes.
1944. Who's the lead sponsor on that bill?
Representative Benjamin Collins.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Bill, you didn't mention, I don't know if you've seen it, 949, which is surveillance.
Come on in, Lori.
It's about limiting surveillance of employees. You know about this bill?
Yeah, I testified obviously in opposition, but I haven't heard anything on it. I'm assuming it's kind of died. There was a lot of input from, which was kind of amazing, but not surprising to me, from the trucker industry, Truckers Association and that sort of thing, because I guess a lot of tractor trailers now have surveillance and all that stuff. So I just didn't see this getting late, but I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't been following up on it. So I will check into that though for the July meeting to get somewhat of a conclusion. And if I hear anything where it's died, I'll email board members and kind of give you an update that way.
Seems problematic, but I guess we'll see what happens.
Very, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead, Ms. Green.
So just to clarify, Mill, on the last bill that you were talking about, the one the state has to negotiate with the tribes. If, and I realize it's only early stage, but if that was to pass, who becomes their oversight body for the, and the negotiations worked? Who's the oversight body for those casinos?
Well, that would be the gambling control board.
Okay, so-
And the only way that I would make that assumption is at the very end of the bill, it says that the tribes must include, but not limited to, taxes and regulations governing the casino. So that gives that enables the conversation as to who's going to oversee the regulation of them. They're not a federally recognized tribe. They don't fall under NAGRA, National Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, or anything of that nature. So I think they're trying to do this separate from that until they get that federal recognition.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You bet.
All right. You're off the hook now. Okay. Got a number of license applications, some renewals, some additionals. So let's take renewals first. We'll start with the Everai payments. Every payment. All right, we're reviewing the application of Every Payments Inc. to be licensed as a table game distributor pursuant to 8 MRSA section 1001 sec. It's not an adjudicatory proceeding, instead we're receiving an opinion from the board of staff supported by evidence obtained during the investigation. We'll also provide the applicant with an opportunity to be heard. Finally, the public is also invited to participate, and time will be allotted for comment. So the applicant seeking a license, table game distributor, is Every Payments Inc. Anyone here representing the applicant? I think so. Before we proceed, so Philip Mantis will ask a few questions.
Thank you. Does any member of the board have any reason such as personal bias or a conflict of interest that would prevent him or her from rendering a partial decision in this matter? None. Does any other person present at the hearing believe that there is any reason that would prevent any board member from rendering a partial decision in this matter? If so, please stand or raise your hand on Zoom, state your name for the record, and state your objection and the basis for that objection. None. There are objections to any pre-hearing proceeding, that is the proceeding of this case up to this point. Please stand, state your name for the record, state the objection and the basis for that objection. Being none, you may proceed, Chair.
Okay,
Chair, if I may interrupt you just for 1 second, I apologize. On the agenda, we have it listed as a table games distributor, when in fact, this is a gambling service vendor license. I guarantee you these documents in my computer change overnight. I don't know how they do that, but I apologize for that hiccup.
and is that what they put on the application?
Yes. Yeah, it's just the agenda was, that's correct.
All right. So each board member has briefing paper based on materials the board staff is relying upon to support its opinion. Those papers will become part of the record. The complete investigation is made available for inspection by the board. Mass copies are not available for public distribution at this time, as much of the material is confidential. Any person would like a copy of the public portion, please speak with Phil Champion, our executive director, and he'll arrange to have those materials provided to you. I don't think this will be necessary, but the board may be required to go into executive session to discuss those confidential portions of the record. All other materials will be discussed in public. Any other evidence such as conclusions of the board of staff, information provided today by the board of staff, statements made, or documents provided by the applicant, and public comment will also be part of the record. Seeing as there's no representative from the applicant, guess we'll move along. Not sure who's handling the, that would be me. All right. Okay.
Good morning.
Detective Armstrong.
Pursuant to Title 8, Section 1005, subsection 2 of the Maine Revised Statute, the Department of Public Safety is responsible for investigating the qualifications of each applicant who a license or registration is issued and reporting to the board results of any such investigation. Every Payments, Inc., Lisa M. Wheeler, applied for renewal of the company's gambling service vendor license on February 16, 2023. The company disclosed and it was verified that since the company's last application for a board license, there have been no charges or changes to the company's address. There have been changes to the key executives of the company or any parent or intermediate affiliates of the company. There have been changes to the ownership structure of the company or any parent or intermediate affiliates of the company. There have been adverse actions taken against the company of any parent or intermediary affiliates of the company by any other regulatory agencies, and there are charges pending against the company or any parent or intermediate affiliates of the company in any state or federal court. The company submitted its federal and state tax returns for the preceding year 2021 and copies of its internally prepared financial statements for the current year 2022 as of the close of the most recent fiscal quarter prior to the application. Those financial documents and other documents as required were supplied to our financial review contractor, Whitfly. Whitfly reported that the company, Every Payment Inc., appears to have sufficient financial assets to meet any financial obligation imposed by the board. Additionally, the key executives of Every Payment Inc. were found to have demonstrated financial responsibilities as defined by the rules governing the board. The department has investigated the qualifications of Every Payments Inc. and has determined that it meets the board's requirements for renewal of its gambling services vendor license. Specifically, Every Payments Inc. and its principals continue to meet the qualifications for a license set out in Title 8, Section 1016 and 1019, and meets the requirements of Board Rules, Chapter 2, Section 5. Therefore, after my verification of the documents submitted, interviews or inquiries, the financial review by Whitfly, and the final review by Director Champion, it is the opinion of the department that Every Payment Inc. is suitable to be continually licensed as a gambling service vendor in the state of Maine.
Thank you. Any questions for Detective Armstrong?
I can't help to be curious, but I'm sure everything is all copacetic. Charges and complaints that they found, just the nature of those, do you know if those are done?
I actually don't know the actual extent of them. Usually they're taken like violations could be just minor incidents to their control.
We don't know.
Two of the litigations are people going to ATMs and claiming
Yeah,
their
I mean, just.
fees should have been waived. Well, yeah. Yeah, I will agree. The recent litigations, most of it is small claims. There were some fines, but nothing significant. Any other questions? Go ahead, Ms. Green.
So this is really tangential, just more curiosity. So they did have some pending litigation against another firm, High Five Gaming, for patent violation that they felt High Five had a patent infringement. I was just again, curiosity, not that really for these guys, their license, but if it was found that there were slot machines in one of our casinos that were in patent infringement, what happens at that point? Do those slot machines get to stay, or would the casinos have to replace them? Do we know?
Not sure, but no, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look into the backgrounds of that. That seems a little bit odd, especially for Every Payments. I mean, I don't think they do slot machines. Or they do.
They do a lot now.
Yeah, everybody's into everything nowadays, I guess. So they got to scramble for these types of things. But at the end of the day, there's an approval process, certification and approval process for anything, any device that comes in and goes into a casino. So that would be filtered out through that process.
Okay, thank you.
Any comments, questions on this applicant?
So next year, we can expect them to do an initial slot machine distributor license.
They don't. Maybe it's just. It's hard to keep track.
Yeah, we'll check.
Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion on the application of Every Payment Inc. For renewal of their gambling service vendor license?
So moved, March.
Second Green.
Any needs for discussion? Okay, let's take a quick roll call. Chief March,
Aye.
Ms. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Hanslip,
aye,
I'm an aye as well. That is 4-0, having met all the requirements of licensing pursuant to Title 8, Chapter 31. Every Payments Inc. will be licensed as a gambling service vendor in the state of Maine. Right, moving along. We have the application of Konami Gaming Inc. to be licensed as a slot machine distributor pursuant to 8 MRSA Section 1001 et sec. Again, this is not an adjudicatory proceeding. Instead, we'll be receiving an opinion from board staff supported by evidence obtained during investigation by the applicant and the public opportunities to be heard. Is there anyone in attendance from Konami Gaming Inc.? Okay, before we proceed, we'll turn it back to Assistant Attorney General Phil Mantis as a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Does any member of the board have any reason such as personal bias or conflict of interest that would prevent him or her from rendering an impartial decision in this matter? Being none, does any other person present at the hearing believe that there's any reason that would prevent any board member from rendering an impartial decision in this matter? So please stand or raise your hand via Zoom, state your name for the record, and state your objection and the basis for that objection. Seeing none. There are objections to any pre-hearing proceeding. That is the procedure of this case up to this point. Please stand or raise your hand on Zoom, state your name for the record, state the objection and the basis for that objection. Seeing none, may proceed.
Okay. Again, each board member has received copies of documents. The board staff is relying upon this board's opinion. All the non-confidential material will be made public. If you want a copy of that, please contact Director Champion. So turn it back to you, Detective Armstrong.
Going to Title 8, Section 1005, subsection 2 of the Maine Revised Statute. Department of Public Safety is responsible for investigating the qualifications of each applicant before a license or registration is issued and reporting to the board the results of any such investigation. Konami Gaming Inc., Mr. Thomas A. Chingoli applied for renewal of the company's slot machine distributor license on March 3rd, 2023. Company disclosed, and it was verified, that since the company's last application for a board license, there have been no changes to the company's address. There have been changes to the key executives of the company or any parent or intermediate affiliates of the company. There have been changes to the ownership structure of the company or any parent or intermediate affiliates of the company. There have been adverse actions taken against the company or any parent or intermediary affiliates of the company by any other regulatory agencies, and there are charges pending against the company or any parent or intermediate affiliates of the company in any state or federal court. The company submitted its federal and state tax returns for the preceding year 2021 and copies of its internally prepared financial statements for the current year 2022 as of the close of the most recent physical quarter prior to application. Those financial documents and other documents as required were supplied to our financial review contractor, Whipfly. Whipfly reported that the company Konami Gaming Inc. appears to have sufficient financial assets to meet any financial obligations imposed by the board. Additionally, the key executives of Konami Gaming Inc. were found to have demonstrated financial responsibility as defined by the rules governing the board. Department has investigated the qualifications of Konami Gaming Inc. and has determined that it meets the board's requirements for renewal of its slot machine distributor's license. Specifically, Konami Gaming Inc. and its principals continue to meet the qualifications for a license set out in Title 8, Section 1016 and 1019, and meets the requirements of Board Rules, Chapter 2, Section 3. Therefore, after my verification of the documents submitted, interviews of inquiries, financial review by Whitfly, and a final review by Director Champion, it is the opinion of the department that Konami Gaming Inc. is suitable to be continually licensed as a slot machine distributor in the state of Maine. I think you're going to find that the same thing goes as far as minor incidents on the changes.
Any questions for Detective Marshall? All right, thank you. Any public comment? Right. Okay, is there a motion on the application of Konami Gaming Inc. renewal licensure as a slot machine distributor?
So move March.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, let's take a quick roll call vote. Chief March.
Aye.
Screen.
Aye.
Mr. Hanslip.
Aye.
Aye as well. So that motion carries. Having met all the requirements of licensing pursuant to Title 8, Chapter 31, Konami Gaming Inc. will be licensed as a slot machine distributor in the state of Maine. All right. Moving along, we've got Connections IT. This is a gambling service vendor. Okay. Okay, we're reviewing the application of Connections IT Inc. To be licensed as a gambling services vendor pursuant to 8 MRSA Section 1000. Again, this is not an adjudicatory proceeding. Instead, we'll receive it in the board staff supported by evidence obtained during an investigation by the applicant and the public an opportunity to be heard. The applicant seeking a license of the gambling services vendor is Connections IT Inc. Is there anyone here representing the applicant?
Yes, good morning, Brody Carlson.
Okay. We will come back to you in a second. Glad you're here. Before we proceed, Assistant Attorney General Phil Mantis has a few questions for us.
Does any member of the board have any reason such as personal bias or a conflict of interest that would prevent him or her from rendering an impartial decision in this matter? Seeing none, does any other person present at the hearing believe that there's any reason that would prevent any board member from rendering an impartial decision in this matter? So please stand or raise your hand via Zoom, state your name for the record and state your objection and the basis of that objection. Seeing none. There are objections to any pre-hearing proceedings, that is the procedure of this case up to this point. Please stand, state your name for the record and state the objection and the basis for that objection. You may proceed, Mr. Chair.
Okay, again, each board member has a briefing paper based on materials the board staff is relying upon the board's opinion. Those papers will become part of the record. Complete investigation has been made available for inspection by the board. Mass copies are not available for public distribution at this time, as much as the material is confidential. Anybody wants a public portion of the materials, please speak with Director Champion. So we will move to hear from the applicant first. And if you could state and spell your name, record, and who you are, because all we can see is Brody.
Yes, my name is Brody Carlson. I'm the CTO of Connections IT. My name is spelled Brody. My last name is Carlson.
All right, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So it looks like you've got something up there. Now's the time if you want to proceed.
Okay. I won't read this verbatim. I'll just give you a brief synopsis. Our company was founded in 2000, originally as an IT provider in Northern California. And the first few years of business, we were introduced into some tribal casinos, doing some IT work for them, and then got the interest and bug to do surveillance systems for casinos. So at the time, we were doing some phone systems and other things for them. And then we found a need for technical services and things of that nature in casinos. And we have grown our business to be from a local shop to servicing casinos across the country. We've been doing this in the gaming market for about 20 years, in IT services and things for about 25 years. We've had a host of different clients and things from anything from a very small system and small casino, few hundred cameras or a few hundred slots, all the way up to tens of thousands of cameras. And so we have a very technical team and experience. We've also worked in some other venues of airports and things of that nature. But that's a brief synopsis of our company. Thank you.
Okay. Does any board member have a question for Mr. Carlson? Right. Hearing none. Any comment from the public? Okay. I'll now turn back to Detective Armstrong. Nope. Going to Bill.
All right, yeah, I'll be taking care of the initials. Miss Victoria Carlson, President, Connections IT Inc., applied for an initial gambling service vendor license on January 30th, 2023. They disclosed in their application was evaluated by whether the applicant satisfies the criteria outlined in Title 8, Chapter 31, the extent to which, if any, the applicant should be subject to the control or influence of its activities by any person having a financial interest pertaining to the applicant, including a mortgage or other lien against property of the applicant, or whom the opinion of the board might otherwise influence its activities. In such case, the director shall consider the character, honesty, and integrity of whoever has the ability to control or influence the activities of the applicant, the degree to which the applicant has demonstrated its ability to finance proposed gambling service vendor operations, as well as the source of such financing, the degree to which the applicant has supplied accurate and complete information pursuant to the requirements of this rule, the extent to which the applicant has cooperated with the board and the department in connection with the background investigation, whether the person or any of its officers, directors, partners, owners, key executives, or gambling service vendor employees are known to associate with persons of nefarious backgrounds or disruptible character with respect to any past conduct which may adversely reflect upon the applicant and nature of the conduct, the time that has passed since the conduct, the frequency of the conduct, and any extenuating circumstances that affect or reduce the impact of the conduct or otherwise reflect upon the applicant's fitness for the license. And any other information before the director, including substantially similar background investigations performed by other agencies or jurisdictions that relate to the applicant's competency, financial capability, honesty, integrity, reputation, habits, or associations. Federal, state, and tax returns for 2019, 2020, and 2021 were submitted. Those financial documents and other documents were supplied to our financial review contractor, Whitfly. Whitfly reported that the company Connections IT Inc. appears to have sufficient financial assets to meet any financial obligations imposed by the board. Additionally, the key executives for Connections IT Inc. found to have demonstrated financial responsibility as defined by regulations governing the board. Connections IT Inc. and its principals continue to meet the qualifications of Title 8, Section 1016, numbers 1, 1A, and 2, and Section 1019. They also meet the requirements of board review or board rule, Chapter 2, Section 5, Parent 7. Connections IT Inc. shall be licensed as required under Title 8, Section 1014-2, which states the board may issue a gambling service vendor license to an applicant that meets qualifications set out in sections 10, 16, and 19. Therefore, after verification of the documents submitted, interviews by or inquiries by Detective Armstrong and the financial review by Whitfly, is the opinion of the department that Connections IT is suitable to be licensed as a gambling service vendor in the state of Maine.
Thank you. Any questions, Director Champion?
Sari, I do.
Good.
So, no, once again, the Connections IT and then also Galaxy, who's coming up next, are using old applications. They're both using applications from April 7th of 21 opposed to our 1/12/23 applications. And I thought at the last meeting, we talked about kicking those back to people if they were using an old application. I was curious where that stood.
Well, I'm actually pretty surprised because I see the yes and no answers in number 7, which should have been our last update. These were submitted back in December. So I'm not sure if they had a chance to get the updated ones. Yeah, so this was actually submitted in December. And this one here is effective January. So I don't know how they would have gotten something. I don't know. Oh, I mean, we checked the last time, so I'll have to check again. Would be my only answer to it.
Okay. Yeah, because Galaxy has an old one as well. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Director Champion? Go ahead.
Relieved to see that the Carlsons are neither nefarious nor disreputable. But what sort of business will they be doing here in Maine with our providers?
Well, I think they've been doing some business prior to being licensed. We're kind of playing catch up a little bit. When I first came online or when I first accepted the position, I realized that there was a lot of guest service vendors that were not licensed. So we got them all licensed and we're pretty much playing catch up right now. I think Oxford was using them at one time. And then I think they started using somebody else now that we really.
Yeah, for the first 10 years, we used Connections IT. Last year, we went to another vendor. We're going back to Connections IT. They're getting licensed in the state and they're doing surveillance.
Yeah, it's mostly going to be surveillance equipment. But yeah, I think Orion Security Services was what they've been using in the meantime, but Connections now will be licensed, so they'll be able to go back to them if they so choose.
Hollywood using this vendor, Connections IT. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
And Sari, I just have one comment. I just wanted to thank Brody for including that little bio of you guys and about the company. It's really helpful to us when we can learn more about the company as we're looking at these licenses. So thank you for doing that.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Any member of the public have any comments? Okay. Is there a motion on the application of Connections IT for licensure as a gambling services vendor?
So move March.
Second,
Alright.
Green.
Okay. Any discussion, comments, or? All right, let's take a quick roll call vote. Chief March. Aye. Ms. Green.
Aye.
Mr. Hanslett. Skip this one. I'm an aye. So that's enough, right? All right. We've got 3 yeses and Joe will rejoin us. So there
Mr.
you go.
Chair, my computer froze, but I vote yes.
Okay, all right. So the motion carries, having met all the requirements of licensing pursuant to Title 8, Chapter 31, Connections IT will be licensed as a gambling service vendor in the state of Maine. And we thank them for their desire to do business in the state of Maine. All right, moving along to our last one of the day. This is the application of Galaxy Gaming. be licensed as a cable game distributor. All right, Bill? Okay.
Yes.
So. Okay, again, this is not an adjudicatory proceeding. Instead, we will be receiving an opinion from board staff supported by evidence obtained during an investigation, also provide the applicant and the public opportunities to be heard. So the applicant seeking licensure as a table game distributor is Galaxy Gaming. Is there anyone here representing the applicant? I think there is. Someone here from Galaxy?
They said they were going to get on at 10. We were hoping they would jump on a little bit earlier because they're on the West Coast. So they might not be on right at this moment.
Well, do we want to hold it, come back?
Well, I have their presentation, but I haven't. I've looked at it, but I don't know if it's really my.
All right. All right, we did a motion to table it.
That was proper, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I move we table the Galaxy Gaming item of the agenda until later. Meeting.
Seconded Handslip.
Okay, any opposition? Yeah, they would. Let's go, there's no unfinished business, right, Bill? All right, let's go into new business, but we've got a number of self-exclusion reinstatement requests. Pull these up. Okay, so starting with patron A, we have a request from an anonymous patron to be removed from the self-exclusion list. Their information is confidential, therefore we will refer to this person as self-exclusion A. The application and other materials put in the Dropbox for the board members. Self-exclusion A present, don't identify yourself, so. Not in this room. Okay. So. Bill, we've got this application, but there's nothing else other than the form.
The Dropbox?
Got an application, got a completed reinstatement request for with the histories from Lori and everyone else. And there's two things that say request for removal email to L Manson, but they don't load.
Oh, they won't come up?
There's some weird format.
Okay. Basically, that's copies of emails that were the request to be removed. The initial request came through Lori Manson at CDC or at AdCare. And she processed it after contacting our office to verify that this person had obviously at the threshold of 5 years. And then Jen Willis requested that she follow up yesterday and be a little bit more specific in the requirement of giving more detail, the wanting to be removed.
All right.
And so that's what those two emails are.
So here's what we're gonna do. Just as you said about tax returns, not images and stuff, let's PDF them, not upload PDFs. Take this up at the next meeting, because I can't see what the messages are. So.
Okay.
PDF, that's the problem here. Saying that you probably deal with the tax stuff. If it's an image or a message, it doesn't load.
Yeah.
So PDF them, upload them. Take this up next time.
So I guess I have just a little different take on it. We do have the completed reinstatement request that Lori Manson completed, which means that Lori has seen it, that she has certified that she conducted a reinstatement session with the individual and visually verified the ID. And there's also an audit trail of their communication. And it feels like if we're asking Ms. Manson to do this, then there should be a modicum of trust we have in her
So we've
material.
got, I just learned that there was an email yesterday from the Assistant Attorney General to the applicant. So I haven't seen that communication. And that's 2 months after Lori saw this. Stick there. Go ahead.
Yes, so this is Assistant Attorney General Jennifer Willis, and I'll just clarify. So Ms. Green, to your point, the self-exclusion, Chapter 13, Section 7(1)(b) requires that a person who requested lifetime exclusion may, after 5 years from the date of exclusion, submit a written request to the board for removal from the list. The request shall include a detailed explanation for the request and separately verification that the requester received a reinstatement session with the problem gambling services. So this is more a question of, we didn't have all the items on the checklist. We had the verification that you referred to. We had a written request that had been forwarded, but did not have a detailed explanation from the applicant. And that was what was requested. And the email that you're referring to is actually not from me. I believe Milt was the one who reached out to the applicant and received an explanation, which is that second email. So the first email was to Lori requesting the removal, saying, how do I get off the list? And then the email from yesterday was in response to Director Champion's request that we receive a detailed explanation as required by the rules. So there's sort of 4 items to the checklist, and they are separate, and it does not indicate any level of distrust in the verification system to receive the detailed explanation. We're required to request and receive that.
Thank you. That's really, really helpful. Do you think that perhaps we could amend the reinstatement request to also include that checklist? So as the components are submitted, it's checked off and we can see it all in one place?
No, I think that's a question for you.
I don't quite understand that.
So the reinstatement request form doesn't have anything about all those other, for example, submitting a detailed explanation. But it would be nice on this reinstatement request form that we have, which is a really good form, if maybe the checklist of items that have to be submitted is included on that form and then they're checked off. So when we see that form, we'll know whether it's complete or not and not have questions like, well, what might be outstanding?
Well, in this particular case, this is one that was a little bit different than any others. Typically, they would send in the request to our office in detail, requesting to come off. And again, what's detail? Is it 1 sentence, 8 paragraphs? I'm not really sure what the definition of detailed explanation would be. But in this case here, we got, she came back to me and she gave me 2 sentences. But you'll find in the other 2, at least one of the other 2, the guy wrote the person wrote a life history. So again, I'm not really sure, but in this particular case here, this person reached out virtually directly to Lori Manson at AdCare. Lori Manson reached out to us to verify if she had actually made, like I said before, the threshold. So what we're doing going forward is Lori's going to defer everybody to us first, and we're going to get the detailed information. We're going to verify that they've at least been on the list 5 years and that sort of thing. And then we'll email Lori and say, Lori, this person's okay to go forward with a session. So this was kind of like an unusual. This is not what happened in the other 2 cases that you're going to look at today. And I apologize. I did put these emails in the Dropbox and I was able to open them. I was able to download and open them. So I don't, technology at its greatest.
So
I apologize
Yeah,
for that, but
I appreciate all that, Mel, and I do understand the difference and I appreciate the work that goes into it. All I was asking was if on the reinstatement request, maybe there were two check boxes, one that was received appropriate explanation and verified the date of the exclusions. Just again, so all in one place on this reinstatement request, we see that it's all been complete. That's what my request is.
okay, then that would be a question I would guess would have to go to Lori because the technology answers all those processes. So whether or not you could do something like that, Lori, I don't know.
I could modify the form and the template and the process. The only thing that like I want to point out is similar to what Milt said, that was a one-time situation that was different. Going forward, the fact that you didn't see a form would mean that Milt's office has seen the detailed explanation, verified that they're eligible for a reinstatement session, and then it comes to me.
I guess even so, I think that, there's a process that we're following, and I think it's important to have accountability to that process.
So what I could do is in the template and in the process, add to the form those two check boxes, shoot it to Milt. He or his staff, whatever he designates, they would check off those two check boxes. They would sign off on it. Then myself and the person requesting reinstatement could sign off and do our portions. But yeah, that could be integrated. How do you feel about that, Milt?
Fine,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can make that happen.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I want to move to table this to our next meeting.
Seconded.
All right. Take a quick roll call vote. Chief March,
Aye.
Ms. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Hanslip,
Aye.
and I as well. All right, so let's move on to patron B. Again, a request from an anonymous patron be removed from the self-exclusion list. If able to keep themselves anonymous, self-exclusion be present at the meeting. I don't think so. So here we have the application as well as a short letter. And it looks like the completion from Lori Manson's team. Any questions, comments from the board? Okay, I have a question. I don't know who it's for. There's a note in here saying this individual used a different name to try to gain access to Hollywood Casino about a year and a half ago. Think more about this?
He legally changed his name.
Interesting. And was it? Yeah, I mean, what do we know if the name change was to try to get access to the casinos, or he just thought, hey, I have a new name,
I don't think we could.
Yeah.
Reasons behind that.
Okay. It's an interesting issue.
Could I comment?
Yeah.
I just wanted to, I think these are the first reinstatement session folks that you guys are reviewing. I just wanted to remind, it's been about a year and a half since the initial conversation, that the reinstatement session is just to talk to the person and take them through the form and to give them resources. It's not any type of opinion on whether or not the board should let them back into the casino. In other words, are they safe to go back into the casino? It's just the fact that we met with them, talked to them and given them resources. So it's not either a yes or a no as far as an opinion on their state of fitness for gambling.
Yeah, it's more, usually I'm of the mindset that if you want to come off, you can come off. Little different if you're trying to gain access to the casino while you're on the list, because that gives me pause. But that also was a year and a half ago, so. Anyways, any comments or questions from the board? Maybe the first request I've seen where it's put myself on the list because I won a lot of money. Because I lost a lot of money. Take that for what it is. So seeing no more discussion. If there's a motion to either approve or deny the request from self-exclusion be removed from self-exclusion list.
So this is Sarah. So just circling back to this detailed explanation, again, this isn't whether we should deny or allow him, but it's obviously that's like 2 sentences is also not a detailed explanation. So at some point, I think we need to clarify, what do we mean by a detailed explanation or a detailed request to come off the list?
Yeah. Well, the next one's quite a long letter, but yeah, certainly.
This is Jennifer Willis again, and the rule is clear. It states that a detailed explanation is required, and the board can certainly engage in a discussion here whether they feel like that criteria has been met. And could ask the applicant for more information if you found that this was not sufficiently detailed.
Can you give us any guidance on what you would think a detailed explanation is?
I would be happy to do additional legal research about it, but I think it does require you to exercise some judgment about whether you consider this to be detailed. You're the ones vested with that specific authority, and maybe this is a sufficient explanation, but you could also certainly consider that it is not.
And is the word detailed versus sufficient, that's in our rulemaking? Is that where that comes from?
Yeah. Yes, the it's section 7(1)(d) requires the applicant to submit a written request that includes a detailed explanation.
I guess at some point I would request that we have again a discussion or clarification of what we're going to consider detailed, so that we're not on each one deciding something's detailed or not. And it would really be nice to have some criteria. So, thank you.
Well, so, yeah, go ahead.
The other thing you might want to consider too, folks, is 5 years is a long time. I mean, just take a second. That's a 5-year loan on a car. That's 5 years is a long time. And I would only ask that you consider that a person who has kept themselves away from gambling for 5 years, I don't know how much of a detail you really want to get into this. I'm sure if Dr. I'm not sure.
Except they excluded themselves for a lifetime.
Well, yeah, but
They could have done it for a shorter period of time. So I'm not feeling sympathetic for anybody who checked the lifetime. And this individual actually did try to get back.
Yeah, and I guess for me, it's not whether this person in particular should be allowed back or whether it's 5 years or 3 years. I just feel like we're charged with making a decision based on a standard of a detailed explanation. But nowhere do we have our own definition of what do we mean by a detailed explanation. That's really what I'm referring to. Thank you.
Yeah. So on this one, I'd like to go back to the applicant and ask what happened with the intent to access the gaming floor. And to find out why, they need to explain in more detail, in my opinion, why you want to come up. So, my thought.
Could be tasked the director with arranging to develop, seek further clarification and detail and
Yeah,
have it amended.
yeah, I'm
Request.
more interested in. Despite the name change, why was this person attempting to gain access?
Yeah, I'll reach out to them.
Just, we also, in these instances, would have detailed reports that state would have access to if there were questions about that.
Ever information that the field staff thinks they need.
I believe in the rule change that there is up for rulemaking. There is a consideration of checking the history of the person through whether they offended or violated their self-exclusion during that period of time.
Yeah. But we need a motion to.
Yes, and I think I'll just reframe back to what I think I heard the request was. So go back to the applicant to find out more detailed information about what happened when the attempt to access was made under the other name, and then an additional more detailed explanation on the current request, with the possibility that staff also requests from the casino the casino's file about the incident. So I think those are the sort of three options that you could consider in a motion, as discussed. So,
All of them?
yep.
Okay,
So moved as described by council.
okay, I'll second that. Any other questions or comments? All right, let's take a vote. Chief March. Aye. Ms. Green.
Aye.
Mr. Hanslip.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Okay, let's move to patron C. Might be a bit of an easier time, maybe not. We have a request from another anonymous patron to be removed from the self-exclusion list. This patron will be patron C. Again, I don't know if you could do this without identifying yourself, but is patron C on Zoom? Okay. So here we have the request along with quite a detailed letter, and again, the certification of completion of the session with Lori Manson. So I feel comfortable approving this request, but certainly open to comments and questions from the board. Anyone? Okay. Seeing and hearing no more discussion, I'll ask for a motion to approve the request by patron C to be removed from the self-exclusion list.
So moved, March.
Seconded Green.
Okay, let's take a vote. Chief March.
Aye.
Ms. Green.
Aye.
Mr. Hanslip.
Aye.
An aye as well. So patron C will be reinstated. Self-exclusion list. All right. No, it looks like. Who's handling the consent agreement?
Jen.
I'll just do a brief background. This is GCB 2023-77. And this is a case that involves two individuals under the age of 21 accessing the gaming floor at Hollywood Casino at around 9:43 p.m. on Saturday, February 18th. The individuals were later confirmed to be 17 and 19 years old at the time they accessed the gaming floor. They entered by walking past the security podium while the security staff member was talking with another person. The underage individuals were wearing ball caps and were in the company of a 43-year-old adult who was the father of the younger person. After they had been on the gaming floor, the casino staff was notified by another patron that the two individuals were not 21. The casino security staff promptly approached the two young people and requested IDs. The two underage individuals were on the gaming floor for approximately 33 minutes and did not game. An ancillary issue in this case is that one of the minors also received and drank a small amount of alcohol from the adult accompanying them. And that I'm just raising that. So we note that the board does not have authority to deal with the provision or consumption of alcohol. And that is under the authority of another state entity who has been advised about the incident. The complaint committee in this case recommends that the matter be resolved by offering a consent agreement that imposes a warning as discipline for the casino for a violation of Title 8, Section 1031(2) for allowing 2 persons under the age of 21 to access the gaming floor for a period of approximately 33 minutes.
Any questions? Assistant Attorney General Willis. Austin or someone, I don't know if you can disclose, but any discipline or anything for the security person who left them in?
Yes.
Hard to police parents who are doing that. Any questions, comments from the board? All right, well, I would seek a motion to approve the consent agreement.
So moved, March.
I'll second
Seconded
it.
Green.
Let's take a quick roll call vote. Chief March.
Aye.
Ms. Green.
Aye.
Mr. Hanslett.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Question on the dashboard, there's another. I think it's 2021-55. Says consent agreement. So I guess that's for another meeting.
I would direct that question to Mel.
It's still on negotiations.
All right, let's circle back. It's, you know, if someone from Galaxy Gaming is here.
It's like there might be a Nevada phone number on there.
Okay.
Unmuted.
Hi, this is Harry Haggerty from Galaxy Gaming.
All right, great. All right, we'll come back to you in a second.
Thank you.
All right. So this is, we're circling back to 6D on our agenda. This is the application of Galaxy Gaming Inc. to be licensed as a table game distributor pursuant to 8 MRSA Section 1001 of the Act. It's not an adjudicatory proceeding, instead will be receiving an opinion from board staff supported by evidence obtained during investigation. We'll also provide the applicant and the public opportunities to be heard. The applicant seeking a license as a table game distributor is Galaxy Gaming Inc. And the individual here for Galaxy, can you identify your name and title for us?
Yes, my name is Harry Haggerty, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Galaxy.
Can you spell that last name?
Haggerty.
All right, thank you. Before we proceed further, Assistant Attorney General Mathis will have a few questions for you.
Thank you. Does any member of the board have any reason such as personal bias or conflict of interest that would prevent him or her from rendering an impartial decision in this? Seeing none, does any other person present at the hearing believe that there is any reason that would prevent any board member from rendering an impartial decision in this matter? If so, please stand or raise your hand on Zoom, state your name for the record, state your objection and the basis for that objection. Seeing none. There are objections to any pre-hearing proceedings. That is the procedure of this case at this point. Please stand, state your name for the record and state the objection, the basis for that objection. Seeing none, you may proceed, Mr. Chair.
All right, each board member has a brief paper based on materials the board staff is relying upon to support its opinion. Those papers will become part of the record. Mass copies are not available for public distribution at this time, as much of the material is confidential. If anyone wants a copy of the public portion of the materials, please speak with Director Champion. Any other evidence such as conclusions by the board staff, information provided today, statements made, documents provided by the applicant, public comment will also become part of the record. So we'll go back to the applicant first. Galaxy, you've got the floor.
Thank you very much. Apologize for being tardy. I was told I could join late, and then my Zoom flamed out. So technology is not as good as it should be in 2023. I have an affirmative presentation, which I'm told I can walk through with you. Since I can't see it, I'm hoping you guys can see it as well.
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, well, I'm on the first page, and let me first say that I'm delighted to be in front of you. I was in Maine about a month ago. My daughter, son-in-law, and new baby grandson actually live in Brunswick. So I have more than this, more nexes to Maine than most applicants do. So going through our presentation, on page 2 is our core values. And I won't read them out, but to summarize them, we take care of ourselves so that we can take care of each other. We believe in doing things well and in doing them right. And our belief is that if we do all that, our shareholders and other stakeholders will do just fine. The next page is a brief timeline. We've been in business for over 25 years, founded in Washington in 1997. And some of the major events, we became a public company through a reverse merger in 2009. In 2011 was the first of 2 significant acquisitions when we bought some assets from Prime Table Games, including 21+3, which is the world's leading blackjack side that we now own. Fast forward to 2019 when we initiated the redemption of shares from Triangulum. I'm sure you have a lot of material on that in your files. In 2020, we did our second acquisition when we purchased Progressive Games Partners, which was the distributor of our games in the online gaming world. And that online activity counts for about 40% of our revenue now. And in late 21, we settled the litigation with Triangulum and borrowed money to pay them out. And that issue is completely behind us. The next page, picture of the handsome devil on the right is my colleague Todd Cravens, who's our CEO. I'm on the right there. We both have extensive experience in gaming at other companies, and we're fortunate to have a very experienced board of directors. Mark Liparelli, who is our chairman, was the chairman of the Nevada Gaming Control Board, in addition to having served in a number of senior executive positions in the industry. Gavin Isaacs was CEO of Shufflemaster and then of Scientific Games. Brian Waters has been CEO of a number of financial services companies. Cheryl Condra ran internal audit at Caesars and now does the same for Tractor Supply. And Meredith Brill is a IP attorney in Toronto, which is important to us because IP is all we have. We license intellectual property around the world, so having somebody who's an expert in that is helpful. The next page, page 5, is a graphic representation of what we do. We basically focus only in table games, no slots, no systems, etc. We do it in both the brick and mortar world and the online world. And our games consist of side bets that exist alongside public domain games like blackjack, craps, roulette, and baccarat. We also have standalone premium games that are, in the most cases, sort of poker derivatives. And when we say we use technology, we do progressives to provide additional wagering opportunities for our customers. The next page, on page 6, is more representation of our systems. You see the progressive signs on the upper right. We have a dealer keypad on the lower right, which is used in connection with some of our games. And on the next page, page 7, you see a number of our titles out there. I mentioned 21+3 in the upper left. It's the world's #1 side bet. Perfect Pairs, which is at the top, the third column from the left, is another blackjack side bet. High Card Flush is a very popular poker derivative game, on and on. Bonus craps down at the bottom there, craps side bet. Next page, page 8, we have just launched a Galaxy operating system. It's the next generation of our progressive system, getting a lot of interest in that product. Our Lunar Table Display is a Baccarat trend board that has become very popular. I've sort of given a brief overview, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Where's your corporate headquarters and how many people do you employ at present?
Our corporate headquarters are in Las Vegas, and we have 49 people as of today.
Mrs. Green, I don't have a question, but I just want to thank you for that presentation. I think it's always helpful to get to know more about the companies that we're doing business with.
My pleasure.
Any of your games in or going to be in our casinos?
Yes, we currently serve the Hollywood Casino in Bangor.
All right, any other questions? Okay, turn it over to Director Champion. His investigation.
Hey, Miss Emily Wynn, compliance officer for Galaxy Gaming Inc. applied for an initial table game distributor license on December 22nd, 2022. They disclosed their application was evaluated by whether the applicant satisfies the criteria under Title 8, Chapter 31, Section 1016. The extent to which, if any, the applicant would be subject to the control or influence of its activities by any person having a financial interest pertaining to the applicant, including a mortgage or other lien against property of the applicant, or who in the opinion of the board might otherwise influence its activities. In such case, the director shall consider the character, honesty, and integrity of whomever has the ability to control or influence the activities of the applicant. The degree to which the applicant has demonstrated its ability to finance the proposed table game distribution, as well as the source of such financing. Degree to which the applicant has supplied accurate and complete information pursuant to the requirements of this rule. The extent to which the applicant has cooperated with the board and department in connection with the background investigation, whether the person or any of its officers, directors, partners, owners, key executives, or table game distributor employees are known to associate with persons of the various backgrounds or disruptible character. With respect to any past conduct which may adversely reflect upon the applicant, nature of the conduct attained, the time that has passed since the conduct, the frequency of the conduct, and any extenuating circumstances that affect or reduce the impact of the conduct or otherwise reflect upon the applicant's fitness for licensure. Any other information before the director, including substantially similar background investigations performed by other agencies or jurisdictions that relate to the applicant's competency, financial capability, honesty, integrity, reputation, habits, or associations. Federal and state tax returns for the preceding year 2021 and copies of their internally prepared financial statements for the current year 2022 as of the most recent fiscal quarter prior to application were submitted. Those financial documents and other documents as required were supplied to our financial review contractor, Whitfly. Whitfly reported that the company Galaxy Gaming Inc. appears to have sufficient financial assets to meet any financial obligations imposed by the board. Additionally, the key executives for Galaxy Gaming Inc. were found to have demonstrated financial responsibility as defined by the regulations governing the board. Therefore, it is the opinion of the department that Galaxy Gaming Inc. and its principals meet the qualifications of Title 8, Section 1016, numbers 1, 1A, and 2, and Section 1019. Galaxy Gaming also meets the requirements of Board Rule Chapter 2, Section 4, Paren 7. Galaxy Gaming shall be licensed as required under Title 8, Section 1013A2, which states the board may issue to distribute table games to an applicant that meets the qualifications set out in Sections 1016 and 1019. Therefore, after verification of the documents submitted and interviews or inquiries by Detective Armstrong and the financial review by Whitfly, it's the opinion of the department that Galaxy Gaming be suitable to be licensed as a table game distributor in the state of Maine.
Any questions for Director Champion? All right, any public comment on the application? Okay. Is there a motion on the application of Galaxy Gaming Inc. for licensure as a table game distributor?
So move, March.
Seconded Green.
Any discussion, comments? Okay, let's take a quick roll call vote to approve. Chief March.
Aye.
Screen.
Aye.
Sir Henslin. I know Joe's on.
Yes, I am. I'm having trouble with my computer screen keeps freezing.
Are you in favor of the motion to approve?
I vote yes.
I'm a yes as well, so that motion carries. Having met all the requirements of licensing pursuant to Title 8, Chapter 31, Galaxy Gaming Inc. will be licensed as a table games distributor in the state of Maine. We thank you for your desire to do business in Maine, and next time you're visiting family, just do it around a board meeting, get the company to pay. So thank you for the
Put it on my calendar.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving along, just one item of board business. That's all raised because the national public health emergency due to COVID ended, I think yesterday or last week, 11. Yeah, it's close. So just remind the board that we did adopt a remote participation policy. I can resend that out, but our meetings will be in person, except if there is a declaration of an emergency or urgent issue by me in consultation with the director. If there is a declaration of emergency issued by the governor of the state of Maine, a condition of a licensee that places the health and physical safety of anyone in jeopardy, illness or other physical condition of a board member or immediate family member that causes the board member to face significant difficulties traveling to the meeting in person, temporary absence from the state. We say when there's geographic characteristics or a meteorological condition that would impact travel, probably not in the summer, but you never know. Or if a board member has to travel a significant distance, meaning more than 100 miles from the meeting location to get here. So, if one of those applies, let me and Director Champion know before a meeting. Otherwise, we hope to continue meeting in person. You never know with this world, things change, but that is the plan moving forward. So just a reminder. So we'll move to public comment. Lori, I don't know who's. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Lori, if you'd like to join me, it's part of our Gift for Change program, which allows our guests to donate unredeemed Keno tickets or redemption tickets. We selected AdCare Maine as our March partner as part of our responsible gaming package. And as part of that, we have raised over $4,500.
It is very rare for the Problem Gambling Services program to get money outside of our CDC contract. So it's going to be very fun to think about what we can do with this that has the most impact. So thank you very, very much.
It's our pleasure.
And
Kudos
Lori,
to you.
Gotta post a picture of that chip on Facebook. Yeah.
This is great.
That's cool. Awesome. Great idea. Any other public comments? No? Okay, so the next meeting, we will not be meeting in June. Our next meeting is July 18th, 2023. We'll be here. And if needed, there will be a Zoom option. the day after is my birthday, so everyone wants to suck up.
Are you gonna make like a specific cake request or something here?
I don't know, maybe we get a chip, a casino chip made like. But that we'll see in July, so I will entertain a motion. Sure.
So move March.
Seconded Green.
Okay, let's take a vote. Chief March,
Aye.
Ms. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Hanson,
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. So we are adjourned 10:37. Good to go.
Not bad.
Ah.